Hi, everyone. Welcome to Take Two this week. I'm so excited to introduce to you our speaker who was with us on Sunday for our Faith Promise Sunday. His name is Nate Tatman. He and Stacy were with us yesterday, and we just had a great time with them. They were telling us about how God had called them to the mission there in the Middle East and what they were going to be doing in their responsibility as missionaries there, equipping and empowering and training other missionaries. So I know you're going to enjoy his sermon that you just heard, and we just grabbed a video clip from it because it was so powerful. And it's a great question that we all need to think through. When was that moment? When was that time that God tapped you on the shoulder? He got your attention, and he used that to do something powerful in your life. So watch this video clip, and we have some questions for you to talk through. Enjoy that. Just spend some time sharing and talking about this very important topic about when God taps you on the shoulder.
Well, have you ever had that one moment in your life that you can point back to that defines why or how you ended up here this very morning? Maybe it was a circumstance outside of your control, or maybe it was a decision that you had made. It could have been something that happened to you as a direct result of a decision you made, or maybe it was an indirect result of a decision that you had made, or somebody else made, and consequently it affected you or impacted you as well. Well, I had such a moment. It was in August of 1996, and earlier that year, in January to be exact, Stacy and I got married almost 25 years ago, actually. Now that thought just popped into my head. I can't believe it's going to be almost 25 years this coming January. But Stacy and I were married, and soon after we got married, I started a new job. A few months after that, we had our firstborn son, Dylan. And while I had grown up in a Christian home, I was not following the Lord in 1996 when we got married, started our family. And Stacy, who grew up in a Catholic home, would probably say that she was trying to do the right thing, trying to live by the right choices. And in fact, we were trying to appease both families at the same time, as on one Sunday we would attend a Mennonite church with my family, and on another Sunday we would attend Catholic Mass with Stacy's family. Get that off my screen. And my one defining moment took place on a Sunday afternoon in a swimming pool. And it was an above-ground swimming pool, to be exact. It was approximately about 4 foot deep or so. And Stacy and I, we were house-sitting for her parents. They were away for the weekend, and we were there with her 3 younger siblings. And we were all swimming together on this hot August afternoon. And earlier that morning, my late Grandma Miller, she was woken out of her sleep. And all of a sudden, she had a burden to pray for a family member, and that was all she needed to know, as she was the prayer warrior for our family. She felt that burden, she got out of bed, and she began to pray fervently in the early morning hours. And later that day, as I mentioned, we were swimming in that swimming pool at my in-laws' house, and again, this was a 4 foot deep pool, but we started to dive into this pool, something we had done many, many times before. And after a few times, being the 20-something-year-old that I was at that time, invincible, nothing can hurt me, I decided to try to dive just a little bit higher and go a little bit deeper before I'd flatten out. And well, this one time, just as I was going into the pool and I didn't flatten out in time, the top of my head hit the bottom or the floor of the pool. And I felt a jolt in my neck, and long story short, that day was my defining moment in life. It put me on a trajectory that I would not have otherwise chosen. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a Christian home. We went to church every Sunday. We were there Sunday morning, Sunday night. We were there Wednesday night for Bible study. My parents led worship. We held Bible studies. We were part of prayer meetings. And I accepted Jesus into my heart when I was in kindergarten. Yet I'm not sure that my faith grew beyond that stage, that kindergarten stage, as I grew older in life. And while I went to church, I heard and recited the Bible stories. I realize now what I didn't know then, that my faith never progressed. It never graduated. It never lived outside of my parents' faith. It was never my own faith. And as I went through middle school and high school, I never deepened or matured my faith in the Lord. In fact, I went the other way, and I remember making statements about going back to church when I started my family. Someday, Lord, when I start my family, when I have a family and kids, I'll go back to church. I'll follow you. I'll do the things that I know I'm supposed to be doing now. And that's part of the reason why we were going between two different churches at that time. As I left home to attend university, I became deeply convicted. I felt God pursuing me, my heart. I felt that deep conviction that I wasn't following him the way that he had called me to. I wasn't surrendering my life to him. And that day in August 1996, it ended with me in a hospital bed. I was in a halo. I was in traction. I had fractured my first and second vertebrae. And for those of you that remember the old Superman movies, the actor Christopher Reeves, who played Superman, he had a similar accident where he fractured his first and second vertebrae. And while I never experienced what he experienced, I never experienced paralysis, I was never unconscious. For whatever reason, God allowed me to walk out of the pool that day. Maybe it was my Grandma Miller praying for me. Stacy drove me to the hospital. As I mentioned, I never experienced paralysis or was unconscious. The doctors and nurses were amazed at what happened. And a few days later, while in the hospital bed, I made the decision to surrender my life. I knew I had to stop running. I knew that I had to make Jesus Christ my Lord and Savior. And a few months after that, I began to feel a call into full-time vocational ministry.